Alright, I'm here with the Panasonic GH5. I've had it for around 3 weeks now. Part of me wanted to get out a review right when I got the camera, but I knew I wouldn't have enough time to invest and truly figure out what this camera is capable of. I've used the GH5 heavily over the past 3 weeks in vlogs, music video production, and low light run and gun shooting. And I think now I can come to some conclusive points about what I like about this camera, what's not so great, and I'm going to give you my straight up review right now. If you want to skip to different portions of the review, there'll be a graphic right here and it's going to lay out all the different timestamps. It'll also be in the description. So if you want to just go down there and click whatever point you want, you can go ahead and do that now.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world.
This is a completely unsponsored, unbiased review. These are all my opinions, and I'm not paid by anyone, if you couldn't tell by my subscriber count. If you want to help support this channel, I know you probably hear this message a lot, but you can go ahead and click the affiliate link in the description to maybe buy a GH5 if this video is informational or helps you out a little bit. You don't have to, but it helps keep this channel self-sustaining, and I appreciate it if you did. Let's start off with image quality. The Panasonic GH5 improves upon the already great image quality of the Panasonic GH4. It gives you a few extra options of what I'm sure you've already heard about, like 422 10-bit recording, 4K 60 FPS, 180 FPS slow motion, and I've really enjoyed digging into the 422 10-bit files and color grading. It makes color grading a lot more fun, and you have millions more colors to pull and push and create the desired effect that you want. I haven't had any problems editing the 10-bit files in Premiere Pro on my PC, but I have heard of some of the issues that the MacBook Pros and some of the Macs have with the 10-bit files. I can't speak on this because I haven't used any Macs, but I have heard that they're there, so it's something that you might want to be concerned about if you have a Mac. But I'm sure Adobe and Final Cut will release updates soon that fix these issues. I've had so much fun playing around with the slow motion on this camera. The 4K 60 FPS is buttery smooth and is extremely crisp. It's a really great feature that almost no other cameras that are sub $2,000 have. The variable frame rate mode that allows you to shoot 180 FPS and 1080p is a fantastic feature. And while it's obviously not as sharp as the 60 frames per second 4K, it's definitely still pretty sharp and can match with some of your 4K clips pretty nicely. You get a little better quality if you bump it down to 120 frames per second, but the difference is pretty negligible, so I like to keep it cranked up to 180. I'm going to show you a little of that real world footage right now.
Never show your love is a wild card. Folding is the hard part. I don't know if you'll hold me or leave me here feeling lonely. Your love is a wild card. Can't let this go too far. I don't know if you'll hold me or break my heart, 'cause your love is a wild card.
Now let's get into some of the ergonomics of this camera. This thing is a tank compared to my old Panasonic G7. The magnesium alloy weather sealed body is awesome, and obviously I have a Speedbooster on here right now, and that kind of breaks some of the weather sealing, but it's super nice to have that, you know, if you're in the rain and you got any Panasonic lens on there, it's not going to give you any issues because you can just feel it when you pick it up. It just feels like a tank. One of the things I do not like about this camera is, see this playback button right here? I have no idea why it's placed on this side. If you're holding it one-handed, there's no way to press it with one hand. You got to, you know, reach out another hand, and so that's somewhat annoying. Also, I saw Casey Neistat point out, and it's a true fact that I was going to talk about, is the display button right here just totally is in the worst position, and it toggles through the viewfinder and the display mode of your LCD screen, and it's just not a good place because I always touch it and then it switches around, and it's super annoying. Another thing some of you might be curious about is the menu system. How is it compared to the G7 and the GH4? And in my opinion, I think it's a big step up. There's a lot more features, a lot more options, but it still retains that simplicity that the Panasonic menu system has always had. Obviously, when you join that with its nice 3.1-inch articulating touchscreen, it's a breeze to navigate the menu on the Panasonic GH5, especially compared to the Sony menu system, which a lot of their cameras don't have touchscreens. I knew the new A6500 does, and I own the Sony RX100, and that Sony menu system is just a pain to navigate through, especially without a touchscreen. But this right here, you shouldn't have any issues with, especially if you're upgrading from the Panasonic G7 or the GH4. You'll have no issues adjusting to the GH5 menu. I'm gonna do a tiny comparison now. I don't have any specific clips, but I upgraded to the GH5 from the Panasonic G7. And you know, how do those two compare? If you have the G7, should you upgrade? If you don't have any, should you get the GH5? Should you get the G7? And obviously budget plays a huge role in this. And I would say if you have the money, I would splurge for the GH5. The frame rate options and the internal body image stabilization is killer. But with that being said, the Panasonic G7, I still go to it a lot. It's still a beast of a camera. It just doesn't quite have as many frame rate options. The 4K 24 on the G7 versus the 4K 24 on the GH5 are almost indistinguishable in daylight. But that brings me, how is the low light on the Panasonic GH5? And from all the tests that I've done, it's definitely no A7S, A6500, any Sony cameras, but it's good enough. All the shots you're about to watch were shot between ISO 3200 and ISO 4000. I wouldn't go much above that, but between that range, you can get some pretty stellar footage. It's definitely the best option out there for low light performance on the Micro Four Thirds format. Another killer feature on the GH5 is the internal body image stabilization. This thing constantly blows me away. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal when I got it, but I don't think I could live without it now. I have the Canon 70-200 2.8 unstabilized version right here with the Metabone Speedbooster adapter, and it's crazy to look at the difference between the stabilizer on and off at 200 millimeters. It is insane. I have a shot right here I'm going to show you with the stabilizer on and off. So here it is with the stabilizer on at 200 millimeters, f4. And here it is with the stabilizer off at 200 millimeters as well. I haven't had the chance to test out any of the dual image stabilizations that they have with some of the Panasonic lenses, but I've only heard incredible things. Another big question a lot of people have been asking is, how is the Speedbooster working with your GH5? Metabones just released a new update a few days ago, so if you download that, you shouldn't have any of the freezing errors that have been going on with it. So that's nice, because it was super annoying when you had to hold down. There's a little glitch where you held down the button on the Speedbooster, turned it on. Don't have to worry about that anymore. You still have to worry about which Speedbooster you should buy. And I honestly would say go with the 0.71 Speedbooster. I have the 0.64 here, and when shooting with the Sigma 18-35 and the Tokina 11-16, you definitely get some vignetting. It's not that big of a deal. You can zoom in a little bit and post. Baby rabbit. All right, I'm GH5-less right now. Max, my friend who's helping me film this video review, took the camera. He's getting a shot of this rabbit over here. We'll probably play some footage. So how is the dynamic range on the GH5? And to answer that, it's not really any better than the GH4, but Vlog definitely helps. I didn't have that option on my G7, but Vlog is wonderful. It sucks that it's $100, but I can Here you go. I can understand why Vlog is $100. It does add such a much better. It gives you at least an extra 2 stops of dynamic range, and it just looks so creamy and beautiful. Let's reach over to the topic of autofocus. There's been a lot of drama surrounding the GH5 and its autofocus system. I haven't found it to be too bad, but I also, for most of my shooting and vlogs and everything, I do manual focus, so I haven't tested it that much. I've tested it with my friend Max's 7-14 Panasonic lens, and it's been pretty phenomenal there. I wouldn't say phenomenal, actually. It's been pretty okay. The autofocus is decent, it's just not fantastic, and if you're looking for stellar autofocus, you definitely want to go over to the Sony line because they're killing it over there. It's really sad that after 3 or 4 years, Panasonic didn't implement a different type of autofocus system for the GH5. It's still the same depth from defocus that the GH4 had, it's just more autofocus points. In conclusion, the Panasonic GH5 is an incredible camera. It's my favorite one of 2017 so far. You're simply not going to see a better camera with 4K 60 frames per second recording, 180 FPS slow motion, internal stabilizer. You're not going to get that in any other package for under $2,000. So that's why I highly recommend it to all filmmakers. Like I always kind of say around here, no camera, no piece of equipment is ever going to improve your storytelling skills. It can help you tell your story more efficiently, but it can never replace great storytelling. That's kind of ironic, me saying that sitting here with the GH5 and a nice lens, but I didn't start with this. I hope I kind of showed you whether or not, this camera might be the camera for you, or it might not be. If you enjoyed, maybe subscribe, gonna be some vlogs with this bad boy if you want to see that. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
With your kiss, boy, here I'll stay.